Happy Easter.
Happy Easter, Father.
We are within the octave of Easter. There are only two big feasts in our liturgical calendar, bringing with it 8 days of celebration, Christmas and Easter. Octave of Christmas and octave of Easter. These are the two big pillars of our feasts, of our ceremonies, of our liturgical celebrations. Christmas, octave of Christmas, the incarnation, God became man. Easter, the resurrection. He lives forever. So all our other celebrations, they relate to this. God became man, God is risen, He lives forever. Let this be a beautiful reminder. And on this Easter celebration, can you recall those accounts of Jesus appearing to His disciples? Some of those were, He was recognized after a meal or while they were at table. Remember the story of those two disciples journeying towards Emmaus? They could not recognize Jesus. But after the breaking of the bread, they recognize Him. Now in this account, as the same, they were doubtful. They even thought they were seeing a ghost. But then He said, "Have you anything here to eat?" You know, this is a beautiful detail in the resurrection. You could easily miss this. You talk about how the tomb was empty. You talk about Mary Magdalene thought that Jesus was the gardener. Jesus was the gardener. But sometimes you could easily miss this. The food is shared, the breaking of the bread. But this is something that it's in the breaking of the bread, it's in the food is shared, it's in the sharing of the food, it's at the table, eating together, they recognize the Lord. This prefigures the Eucharist. In the breaking of the bread, when we come here, this is a celebration of Christ's resurrection. When we gather here at table, the Eucharist, you meet the risen Lord. And it is only around this table could we recognize Him. We could not recognize Him otherwise. The scandal of the cross is so heavy. The scandal of the cross is scandalous. That's why I call it scandal. The scandal of the cross is difficult to bear. As we go through life, there are so many of those crosses in our lives. Pain, sufferings, betrayal. There are so many. And we could hardly see God's presence. We need this Eucharist. We need the breaking of the bread. We need to eat with Jesus and eat Jesus Himself for us to recognize Him. Here is our Savior. Remember during Ash Wednesday, then Good Friday, the whole Lenten season, we are told to fast and abstain. Can you recall? Muna usahay, ini Good Friday, no? Ang ma-highlight, ang binignit, maglibog ta. Dahan ko gipangutana og ngano na. On Good Friday, ang binignit. But it's the fasting and abstinence. Then now, at the resurrection, it's the meal. It's the meal. After the fasting of the abstinence, after we empty ourselves, after we deny ourselves so many things, now it's the time for the festivity. After the fasts, we feast. We feast. Fasting and feasting. Jesus was asked one time, why is it that your disciples, they do not fast? While the disciples of John and the Pharisees, they fast. Why? Then Jesus said, because the groom is still with them. feasts. That's at the very center of our expression of faith. The resurrection, Christ said, have you something here to eat? To the two disciples, it's in the breaking of the bread that they recognize Him. We feasts. We should know the reason of our feasting so that our fasting makes sense. Usahay nga itong mga fasting way lami. Atong mga fasting way kahulugan. Why? Because it's far from the reason of our feasts. This is the reason of our feasting, that the Lord is risen, that He lives forever. The reason of our feast must be Jesus, so that our fasting makes sense. Mo nang sa sunod in taon nga Lenten season, mag-isip kayo tag fasting, recall and know the reason of your feasting, so that your fasting has meaning. Dili kay magisgot og pwede bang itlog sa Biyernes. Dili kay inig Biyernes Santo binignit ra gyud maoy hisgutan. It's about Jesus. He lives forever. Mao nga ato ning dadto na kahulugan na napamunta sa octave of Easter. Ato ning sawan, magpiesta ta, magsadya ta. We celebrate 500 years of Christianity. Wow, beautiful. You should know, we should know the reason of these feasts. We should know the reason of this celebration. So that when we know how to feast, we know also how to fast.